to the channel. Today we're going to take a little closer look at the Walther PPQ M2. I have that right here. And we'll take a little bit closer look at this model. And I've done a comparison against the Glock 19 because they are very similar in size, capacity, all those things. So I've done a review comparing the two of them. I'll put a link to that above. But today I want to do a little bit more of a in-depth just on the Walther PPQ itself. So stick around, we'll take a look at it here on the tabletop a little bit closer. Alright, welcome back to the tabletop. We're going to take a little closer look here at the Walther PPQ M2. And we'll start off with the magazine. It is a 15 round capacity magazine, all steel construction on the magazine. I love the red follower. It works very well. I've had no problems with failure to feeds. It's always worked. I keep them stacked usually in the magazine, so they're always usually full. I've obviously emptied this just for review, but it's a great magazine. I've had no issues with it at all, falling, dropping. It keeps it shaped very well. Next, with the Walther PPQ itself. So again, like I mentioned earlier, this is a similar in size model to the Glock 19 that everybody's really familiar with. So that's really the realm it competes in. It's size-wise, again, very similar. Capacity is the same. The takedown is very similar. There's a lot of things about this that make it very much the same. Now, if you watch my other review and the compare with the Glock 19, I actually do like the PPQ better than a Glock 19. Just the fit, the finish, all of those kind of things. But at the end of the day, the Glock 19 has a much better aftermarket. It's cleaner, it's easier. But this one works very well as a concealed carry weapon. And very much so, it's hard to beat it. I mean, even though I would go with the Glock 19 only because of the aftermarket, changing out sights, things like that, this thing is a beautiful handgun and it works flawlessly. So if we take a look back to front, let's kind of start that way. We'll start with the sights. They are plastic sights, but they are adjustable. There is a screw here, so you can adjust the height of the sights. And they are 3-dot sights, plastic at that, so they are comparable with the Glock 19 in that respect. Slide serrations I really like. They're very deep. They're very, I don't know how to say it, just very easy to grab. And I love the front serrations. You lose a little bit there with the Walther flag, but easy enough to get press checks on the front, the back. The serrations are very deep in their edge, but they're not too much that they cause a problem. So they're very, very useful serrations. And as far as the sights go, you also see this little anti-glare here right along the top that helps with any glare coming off top of the gun. And if you notice the way it looks, it does have a little bit of a different profile. It's not squared off. It kind of curves a little bit around the top, coming off the edges, which makes it a little bit nicer too. I think it looks a little goofy with the sight sometimes, but that's just my opinion. Now, we'll move on. Slide release is a long slide release, and it works very well. It's ambidextrous on both sides. But as far as slide release goes, it catches very well, but it sweeps off very easily. Very easy to do. It's very well serrated. It does give it a little more width when you're looking at the edge of the gun, but nothing that's really noticeable. So it's a very clean design that they have there. And I'll tell you, I have a lot of other handguns, whether it be a slide stop, slide release, whatever you want to talk. This is definitely a slide release. It locks it, of course, but it releases so easy. It's beautiful. Moving on, the grip. It does have replaceable back straps to give you different sizes. The grip itself has a little bit of a cutout texture almost on it. It's not really rubbery, but it gives you enough texture there that you can really get a good grasp on it. And it doesn't feel like it's going to slip out of your hands. There are some slight finger grooves there, not as pronounced as a Glock, but they are there a little bit. Magazine release, as we talked about, is ambidextrous, so it's on the right hand side of the trigger guard, but you can flop it over to the other side if you are left-handed. Makes it very easy to do that. Moving along, we've got the trigger. It has a standard, almost universal, besides the M&Ps, A little doohickey here in the middle, the little safety release in the middle of the trigger. That's there. The trigger guard is, or excuse me, the trigger itself, when you get into detail, that is probably the part that sets it apart from most handguns. It is, from a striker fired handgun standpoint, this is an amazing trigger. And we'll take a look at that in a minute though. But it does have a release just like a Glock or any other striker fired handgun with that mag release there in the middle. Moving forward, it's got a big open trigger guard. That's one thing I liked about it, is how open it is. If you have gloves on, it's very easy to manipulate and get your hands inside of there. You have a lot of room. It does have the serrated kind of front of the strap of the trigger guard. You do have a 3-position rail, easy for mounting lights and accessories as you need to. The sights, again, just to make a note, they are not night sights at all. So it's just another piece to note. The overall fit and finish, though, again, is really beautiful. The finish on it has not scratched on me whatsoever, and I've used it quite a bit. And in fact, I got this as a used handgun, so it's been around the block a couple times. I know I put a number of rounds through it, and it has never caused a problem or any kind of hang up, failure to fire, failure to feed, anything like that. Okay, so let's take a look inside now. The takedown is very similar to a Glock again. Pull this back a little bit, drop your little release here, let it go, pull your trigger, and off it comes. Looking out on the inside, very similar to most striker fired handguns. You got the rails for the easy just field strip. It is a captured recoil spring and guide rod, and your barrel slips right out just like you would any other striker fired handgun. We'll put that back in. In reverse, it works the same way. Just drop it inside, putting it back together, and you're back together. Now, one thing we can touch about is that trigger. I talked about it a little bit earlier. The trigger is amazing. For a striker fired handgun, a lot of them are very plasticky, some are very long, some are gummy, where you don't really feel a wall. With this trigger, you get a little bit of take up, and you can feel it right there as a wall, and it just pops right after that. Very light, not very strong, not very heavy at all. If we want to watch the reset, so we see that take up there, bam, reset, right there. Very audible, very noticeable, and you're right back on the trigger. Very, very amazing trigger. Again, striker fired guns, this is probably the best one that's out there. So all in all, this is a fantastic handgun. I know I use that word a lot, but it is amazing. I really wish there was some more aftermarket to it. I wish Walther had some more accessories or worked with other groups to really make some more accessories for it, because I do think this would be a comparable to the Glock 19 along with the M&P 2.0. I think all three of those are amazing handguns, and this one is no slouch at all. I would have no problem carrying this every day. If I didn't have a Glock 19, that's probably what I would do. I mean, in fact, I don't carry the Glock 19 that much anyway, except for in the winter time. Here in Texas, it's not winter very long, but I usually carry my M&P Shield. But if you're looking for that size handgun of the Glock 19, which seems to fit most people, this is a very good alternative to a Glock 19 and a fantastic handgun. And as far as build quality, it's definitely better than a Glock 19. It's very solid. All the finishing on it is done a lot better than a Glock you would find. Glock is usually known as being more the utilitarian type handgun, the working man's gun. This one's a little bit finer, but other than that, it's a fantastic handgun again. All right, so just a quick review of the Walther PPQ M2. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. If you've used them and fired them, I'd love to hear what you have to say on the weapon. If you have any other comments and criticisms, by all means, put them in the comments below. Again, if there's anything else you'd like to see, put them in the comments below. I'll be happy to try to do whatever I can. And if you'd like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. And thanks again for everybody taking the time out of their busy lives to watch my videos. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again soon.